welcome back to my studio. This is Emma on another beautiful sunny summer's day, I hope. Fingers crossed, who knows, there might be some rain forecast, but you know what, we've had rain and sun and I'm so grateful because it's making everything grow. It's nice and fresh out there, so for those of you who are heading into winter, well, it'll be our turn soon for that. We're just enjoying this at the moment. I've loved being outside over the weekend. It's been just so nice. Done a lot more clearing out in our outhouses. Honestly, the junk that you keep that you just don't realise you've got, and the dirt and the mess that's in all the corners because you haven't been in them for like 20 years or something. My husband's been to the tip twice, which seems terrible. I hate just dumping things, but what else can you do with it all? Some of it gets recycled. We recycle as much as we possibly can. And you know, I would love to be able to share these things and swap these things, but sometimes they're just really past their sell-by date. So anyway, no guilty conscience. I'm just going for, you know, these things have to be done. And the fun thing is it makes so much more space. There's just, are going into the outhouses now, because this is where the donkeys kind of live and we keep the hay for them, and there's a tool shed area. I mean, there's still more to do, but I've now got my little garden tool area. I've got my rakes all set up, and I've got my little secateurs and my scissors and my trowel, and I can see them. And I got rid of all the old ones that just didn't work, things that you keep that just don't work. You know, what's that all about? Cluttering up your life. So I hope you enjoyed my last video, and today we're going to be really getting those poppies into place. I hope you enjoyed the surprise that they were. They were certainly a surprise to me. If I hadn't seen them growing outside my neighbour's wall, I would never have thought about them, but it was just something in the back of my head. And I think, you know, you have to listen to these little things sometimes, and it's once you start, you know, getting the fabrics out, and I had the perfect colour of thread. It was that orangey colour of thread that just went, yes, this is what you need. So we'll see where it takes us today. I've got to work out how the poppy heads are going to be made. I think I might do a bit more sampling for that to see how we want them to be, and then we can take it from there, can't we? So thank you for joining me here. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me a thumbs up if you'd like to, if you enjoy the video. I'm loving all the comments. I'm loving chatting to you. It's just wonderful, and I'm especially enjoying knowing where you're coming from. So if you haven't left that already, that piece of information, if you'd like to share that with me, it's just fantastic. It gives me this sense of a global community here. And that the world is really a very small place when we connect in this manner and we get together to talk about textile art and fabric and threads and stuff. I mean, how simple is that? It's not complicated, it's not rocket science, it's very fundamental. We all wear clothes. I always think textiles are very approachable because we all wear clothes and we all have things in our homes that are made of fabric, and to me then it's not on this posh pedestal of posh art that, you know, you can't go anywhere near. So that's my approach anyway. I like things to be approachable, and I like things to be simple, and I like the idea that anybody can do this, you know. Okay, I've been doing it a while, so perhaps a bit like driving a car, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I don't always get it, and I don't always get it right, and I don't always get it perfect, as you will know if you've been here for a little while. To me, it's about enjoying the process. That's all it is. It's like life. You know, we could all want it to be perfect, but it doesn't work like that, does it? It's just enjoying the process, being here. So let's get on with this and see where we get to. I hope you're going to enjoy the journey. So here we are. This was kind of where I got to last week. You can see I've had a little bit of a fiddle around with some of these bits and pieces because I've been trying to work out what I want to put onto here. I hope you've recovered from the shock of the poppies. They were a huge surprise to me, I have to say, and I hope that you've recovered from that. You might need your sunglasses on. I think it is quite bright, especially with this shiny fabric. But anyway, never mind about that. That's the past. Now we need to be looking at what we're actually going to do. So what I've done so far is I have played around and created a on top of my little sample piece that I had already made. I actually stitched it a little bit. Previously it was just embellished, but I've stitched it down a little bit to give it a bit more, you know, to make it look a bit more like this. And I had a go at doing some poppy sort of shapes, and I'm quite happy with the stalks, especially the thicker one. I'm going to have to make some thicker stalks, and I like the way I'm just holding them down in little places so they've got a lot of freedom to move around a bit. I quite like the idea of doing just a little small perhaps three small ones and 4 big ones, and I made this one, which is got it's the same as this really. It's got curtain interlining and some stitch and tear on the back, but to me it looks more like a tulip than a poppy. I was trying to introduce some different colours with some net and some orangey fabric that isn't the same as that, and a little bit of organza, a bit of this sort of organza-y fabric. I don't know if you can see that. So I wasn't entirely happy with that. I felt as though it wasn't really free enough. So I started messing around, and I had in my stock of odds and sods of fabrics, I had some of this, which is something I've embellished previously. And this has got organza embellished onto this fabric here. This is basically, it's a lining fabric, it's a dress lining fabric type thing. And what I liked was it made it quite stiff. So this is what I actually cut these out of, and I like the way it had a second layer, and because it's embellished you can pull it off a little bit, so you can actually put your finger under, so you could have like something that was held down but with a bit of looseness to it. And then I cut out some petals like that, so that's what they looked like. And I thought, well, you could be adding these on as an extra layer, and then you could have some of these on top. But actually what I decided was I really don't care for the fact that this is flat and shiny at all. I don't think that works for me. It's just too glary, too leery and glary, and too flat. And as you know, I love a bit of texture. So if I pull these apart, okay, and I start to use the underneath fabric, I'll just get a pair of scissors, bear with while I get a pair of scissors. Best laid plans, I'm always really organised, ha ha. Let's just have a look at this and see what we can do. So if I cut this, see what the nice thing about this, because it's pre-embellished, it's actually got a stiffness to it, which means it'll sort of hold its shape better. And it also kind of stops the edges fraying quite so much. It's like you've kind of meshed it together a little bit. So I thought they would make really nice petals. And I was thinking, well, do I just lie them down flat? Do I layer them up? Do I put, you know, one on top of each other? Do I use some of this underneath and just have it? I mean, you could even turn this over and use the other side, which isn't quite so shiny. If you can see, there's a different quality going on there. So you could be, I could be layering these things up and adding other bits on, so perhaps some bits of net, and just create something that's much more flexible and free compared to this one, which, as I say, I felt, obviously the shape's not great because it's not wide enough to be, I felt it just made it tulipy like that. So if I actually add a little bit onto that one, so say I took that and pop it onto there, it starts to take on a different sort of shape, perhaps on top. Anyway, so I was messing about. This is what you've got to do. You've got to play around, and gradually ideas come once you start cutting the fabric out, playing around. So my next thing I've done is, I'm just going to clear these out of the way a little bit so you can see what I've done here. I'll borrow that stalk. Is I've actually made myself another little sample so I could see, and what I've done is I've taken the pre-embellished fabric that doesn't have any organza on, which I cut out here. Another piece I cut out. Ooh, I don't know which one I cut out now. One gets in a bit of a pickle with some of these because they're all looking the same. I think it's this piece up here. Yep. So that's got the organza on, which makes it stiffer. But if I take the organza off, I just get this quite soft petal. So what I've done is I've kind of layered up. I've got about 4 petals on here, and I've just layered them up and stitched them down a little bit and faffed around with them, and I think that works. And it means whoever has the picture on their wall can actually, you know, you could play around with these a little bit, you know. So I've created a sense of depth and a sense of freedom. I just knew I didn't want something really flat down on the surface. Let's just take these away. Collect all of these up. So whether I actually add some more kind of organza bits on top or some net on top, so we get a feeling that there's different depths and different colours, I don't know, or whether I just simply keep it very simple, which is my favourite thing to do, faffing about, playing and keeping it simple. I think that kind of works because there's enough perhaps going on in the background, and maybe I will rough the background up a little bit. I'm not sure, or whether it works like this, because this has got a slightly rougher background because it hasn't got as much stitching on, so it looks quite good. Isn't it funny, you know, you get halfway through a piece and you think, oh, I wish I'd done it that way instead of this way, but this is the thing, you've got to just work with what you've got. I could add some more blue fabrics on top of here if I wanted to make it a bit more sort of wild and rough, but on the other hand, it being quite flat means that these will really stand out, and they can be, the poppies are going to be the star of the show, really. They really are. They're going to just, you know, knock your socks off. So I think the next thing to do is to cut some more petals out and actually get them onto the background. I have decided I'm going to keep this piece of white, so I need to embellish that down. I feel as though that gives it stops it being an abrupt stop between that section of the piece and this section. It just brings it down a little bit, so you've got a bit more looseness going on, as I say. I mean, I could add some more fabric on here, but it's quite busy up there, so really in a way it's quite good that it's quite simple down here, and by the time I get these on onto the background, you know, that will be plenty. I think it's going to be very orange, very much in your face, but you know what, I'm having a real laugh doing this. It's taken me way beyond anything I thought I would do. So I think actually the next thing to do, to be honest, is to make some cord. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'll just turn that over so you can see that's sort of a whitish background. I just want to be able to show you this, which is, it's some, I think it's crochet yarn or something. It's quite a soft cotton crochet yarn, and I've got 3 strands of it, and I'm going to put that under my sewing machine and I'm going to zigzag it together, and that is what will create the cording for me to make the stalks with. You can make it as thick or as thin as you like, depending on what width of zigzag stitch you've got. So I think this must probably have a couple of bits of some kind of yarn in and then zigzagged, and the thicker pieces will have, I can show you this bit. This bit's got more, oh there we go, that's it. This bit's got much more strands in, many more strands in, several more strands in, so you can see the difference. And as you put that through your machine, it zigzags. You just pull it like that through your machine and take it very carefully and slowly and let it zigzag. I do it on free machining, I'll be honest, because I find that the easiest, and you can just pull it through and let the machine do the work, and then that gives you your stalks. So I think I've got work to do. I'd better get on with it. Okay, so I'm going to just try and cut a petal or two. This is really good, using up something which was just basically a piece of scrap from a previous project that I did. And it's been sitting around in my stash waiting patiently to be used, and I just suddenly thought, you know, this is the perfect thing. I might actually embellish, not embellish, I might actually use my heat gun on some of these edges a little bit, but we'll see. If I don't handle them too much, I think they'll be okay. And I don't want things looking too pristine, you know, I want a bit of flexibility, a bit of freedom to these poppies. These are the poppies of freedom. I'm letting it all hang out with these poppies. I don't even mind. They don't, you know, all the petals are different, the different sizes, and it's the putting together, isn't it? It's going to be the fun bit. I may have to embellish a little bit more of this fabric, but that's okay. That's not difficult to do. Okay, so I'm just kind of playing with the petals, which is really fun to do. I'm so enjoying this. This is a very liberating thing to be doing, and they can be, you know, as voluptuous and as sort of squidged up as I want them to be. I mean, I could be making some of them a little bit narrower like that, depending on how you stitch them, as to whether you get a wide shape or whether it goes in a little bit more narrow. And I'm hoping they're not going to look like tulips, that's all. So I'm not sure. Gonna have to fiddle about with them a little bit more. And I wanted some little ones as well. So you could have big ones quite low down as well as little ones. And I kind of thought you need to have 3 or 5 or 7. So I need to play around with this a little bit more, and then I'll get on with stitching it. Ta-da! There we are. It's finished. And I am absolutely delighted with it. I hope that you will like it too. And if you don't, that's absolutely fine. But it's just so exciting to me. I've never made anything quite like this before. I often work in 3D. I often work in 2D. But I don't often do something like this where I've got poppies leaping off the background at me. So basically, you can see down here, I'll show you, I've just trimmed the edges. There's a little bit more edge work to do, I think. I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to sort of embellish these edges a little bit. They're a little bit too frilly at the moment. I might just do a little bit of embellishing, a bit of gentle knocking back just to make it a bit more frayed, I think. But these poppies I am absolutely loving. If I show you them, these have got 2 petals, these little ones. I wanted this feeling of depth. I wanted this feeling of sort of realness to them. So I gave those 2, and that's a little one. So different shapes to what I had originally. And these have got 4 petals on. And as I said, because I've embellished the fabric, it's given it a stiffness, which is quite exciting. I might yet heat gun the edges. I haven't quite decided. They're a little bit rough and raggedy at the moment, but they might stay like that. I haven't quite fully decided exactly how it's going to end up. I basically stitched these on very, very simply, one after another, and I kind of bunched some of them up so that they gave this feeling of depth. And I just think they're so much fun because you can, fiddle about with them and alter them, and if they're not going to flop anywhere because they've got the stiffness in the fabric. So, what an exciting adventure that has been. I thought it was going to be just a plain old blue seascape, and wow, look what happened. So I hope you've enjoyed the process with me. I hope you've enjoyed being on this journey of exploration, and who knows what's next, as I always say. Who knows what's going to come? I mean, how do you follow that, eh? So thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for letting me know what you think. It is so nice to have you here with me. I can't tell you. And please join me next week, and we will see what colour rabbit is going to come out of the hat next week, So I'm going to say bye for now. I hope you have a really peaceful and creative week, and I'll see you again soon.
Ba 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 ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba.